Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to another episode of Gaston's Great. I think this is episode number 145, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long. We're coming to you once again from the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services right here in downtown Gastonia. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We're highlighting another great, normally I say organization, maybe this programs is a better description, but we are highlighting the Center Daycare Services for Adults in Daylite. And I'm sure we'll get into exactly what that means, but we have Karen Creech with us today. Karen is the program supervisor. So Karen, it's great to have you on and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So we like to get right to it. So if you don't mind, just for our listeners, just tell us a little bit about yourself, anything you'd like to share.
Okay. Well, just as you said, I'm the program supervisor for the Center Daycare Services for Adults in Daylite. I've been there for about 7 years. It falls under Gaston County government. I have actually been in Gaston County probably 29 years. I am originally from Virginia, got my undergrad at Radford University and my master's in public health at Walden University. Been married for 30 years in January.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes. And I've currently
that's longer than me.
Long.
Got me by about a year and a half.
Oh, yes. It'll be 30 in January. And then I currently just took on custody of an 8-year-old. So
oh, wow.
My life has drastically changed.
So just from no kids to an 8-year-old in the house, or?
Well, we raised our 2 nephews, so they're 34 though. So
okay, yeah.
I've been on my own, doing my own thing for the last 20 years.
Well,
and
is that congratulations, I guess, or good luck?
Yeah, well, I was like, it
I
can go either
kids.
way.
I have 3 kids, so I'm familiar with them doing all that.
Yeah, congratulations or good luck. Sometimes you say that to people that birth them too.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, it depends on what stage you are. Right. Having 2 girls going through those teenage years.
Oh, yes.
That was quite interesting. I'll leave it at that.
I'm sure.
They might listen to this episode, so I won't go any further with that.
Well, 8-year-olds are very fun.
You know what?
I'm a fun person.
That is a good age. Yes,
it
absolutely can be. They're past the terrible 2s and they don't think they know everything yet as a teenager.
Right. That's exactly. This is the perfect age.
So I guess I appreciate you sharing a little bit about yourself there, Karen. But, we like to get right into the topic there. There may be some listeners out there who are familiar with the Center Daycare Services for Adults and Daylite. I'll make sure I get that right. But just kind of give our listeners an overview. What is initiatives or what is the programs? I mean, obviously that's the main point today is for our listeners to become aware, because we have some listeners who, the goal is always by the end of the conversation, we want listeners to become aware. A listener may hear something, wow, I can help with that, or I have somebody that this program might help, right? That's ultimately, the ultimate goal of these type of conversations. So I'll just throw it to you and we'll continue after this.
Okay. Well, we provide services to individuals that have Alzheimer's and dementia and those that are medically fragile. So it is a social program for those individuals. I explain it as activity. So we try to stimulate their brain. We try to let them allow them to engage in social activities. And of course, we allow for a physical activity. So, everyone wants to retire, travel, go and do, and then life throws you a curveball.
Sure.
Well, we're the curveball. So when you can't just hang out at the senior center, then you can come to our program. And I believe that you need socialization till the day you take your last breath. And this allows that to happen. So you may need that supervision and you'd like to age in place, stay in your home. Well, this allows you to do that. Our center is open 7:30 to 5:30. So just like regular daycare, if you have a caregiver, you can drop off at 7:30. That individual works their 8 to 5 and picks up at the end of the day. And then our Daylite program is kind of a caregiver's day out. It's just to give caregivers a break during the day. It's open on Tuesdays and Fridays from 9 to 3. So our focus is to keep Gaston County individuals employed, allow for socialization of those individuals that have those limitations, and also delay long-term care placement. So that is the focus in the initiative.
All right. So in between, before, am I understanding right? Before something, a facility like Cortland Terrace or something like that.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, my mother-in-law was at Cortland Terrace, is why I'm familiar with that.
Okay.
Community, I guess.
Yeah.
And she's in the memory care unit. So I'm familiar with Alzheimer's and dementia as well. All right. So that's a lot. So a couple questions come to mind. So how does it work? How do clients, for lack of a better
we call them participants.
Thank you. Participants.
Yeah.
How do they find out, or how do the families find out? How do y'all get in touch with families and individuals, to become part of the program or get involved?
Okay. So again, we're part of Gaston County government, and we fall under Adult and Aging Services. So our Adult and Aging Services department has an intake program. At that point, the individual calls and they would explain that they were interested in adult day services. And then our intake department would go over eligibility criteria for them. We're a social model and not a medical model. So social model means they really just need a supervision, and they have low medical issues. So the individuals that come to our program, they're still able to feed themselves. They're still able to function well in a group setting. We're not a locked unit. So those individuals, now we talk people out of leaving all day long, but our doors are not locked.
Right.
So we have to be able to talk them out of it. They have to be on a regular diet. We can administer oral medications in the program, but not shots. There's not a registered nurse, and there's monitoring and redirection. So this is for the individual. And I had a caregiver that came in, and she said, this has been great for me. She said, right now, she said, I'm scared mom's going to open up the door for somebody. I'm scared mom's going to wander off. I'm scared she's going to burn the house down. And she said, and I'm at work. And she said, I'm not a very good employee because I'm worried about mom all day long. So this is for that individual that is just not safe at home. They may be able to still manage a lot of their daily living care, but they just need a place for supervision during the day. And maybe that caregiver doesn't want to place their loved one in a facility. Then it gives an alternative option. And we want to make sure that people are keeping their jobs. Some caregivers place in long-term care placement because they have to work, and there's no place for them to go during the day.
No alternative.
And no one can be on 24 hours. So as you know, as a caregiver, it can be overwhelming. A lot of people said, you don't know how long it's going to last. You don't know where it's going and how far it ends. I had, like you said, even this 8-year-old, I know that hopefully, barring any changes in the next 10 years, I'll have my freedom back.
Right.
But you don't know with Alzheimer's and dementia, because some people can live 14 to 20 years with this. You don't know where it's ending. There is, with this 8-year-old I know that he's going to become more independent as time goes on. He'll be able to drive himself to school and things of that nature. And I have a general idea that it's going to happen around 16, somewhere around that. But you don't get that kind of guarantee with Alzheimer's and dementia.
That might be going the opposite direction, where they're requiring more, less independence as time goes by.
Right. And you don't know where it's ending. So it can be overwhelming. Another piece of it is caregivers have to have support. And I facilitate a caregiver support group every fourth Tuesday of the month. We have that caregiver support group meeting, and that's where caregivers can come together to learn about those things. For example, everybody kind of can give you direction on children, but when it comes to Alzheimer's, you don't always get that extra support on approaches that people have used, strategies they've used. And there might be somebody in that support group meeting that says, hey, my mom did this and I tried that. And so it's a place sometimes just to vent. It's a no judgment zone. We don't drop our jaws at any one's response. You get to feel the emotions you get to feel. And then sometimes it makes you feel better because you say, wow, my situation is not as bad as I thought when you go in those support groups also. So that's something else that we do have available for caregivers.
Yeah, caregiving, I don't like to use the word burden, but it's because it's just part of the journey can
Right.
be. But yeah, but there is a weight and a responsibility for caregiving that's it's just unique, and every situation is unique. That every family situation is unique. So, okay, so you described a lot here. Maybe can you share something? Maybe something a little more specific. The day in the life at the center.
Okay.
So it's just kind of what are some of the activities and things that a listener might be interested in hearing about?
Okay. So we're always have activities that are engaging them socially, physically, and cognitively. So individuals from at the beginning of the day, there's some people there around 7:30. Of course, they get coffee and conversation when they come in, and that's just to interact and socialize with other individuals. And then around 9:30 or so, we do 15 minutes of chair aerobics, where at the senior center, you might get an hour of Zumba. So it's modified. And then they get a light snack. If you want grits and eggs and sausage, do that at home, but we'll give you a light snack when you come in. And then we usually start with an activity, and that could be an activity such as bingo. There will be bingo at the adult day program, definitely. Right. It could be a craft of some sort that they're making. It also might be a volunteer that comes into the program to facilitate an activity or an event. We also go on outings. They went to the Billy Graham Library.
Okay, that's cool, yeah.
And also, even when you get older, you still want to give back. We actually have our little van that we take out, and we run Meals on Wheels routes.
Oh, okay.
Because another focus of our program is to give people value and worth. And so regardless, you still want to give back even when you're in need. So we allow that to happen. So it's very structured during the day. They eat lunch around 11:30, and then their only unstructured part of the day is from about 12 to 1:30, and that's when individuals kind of get to rest, socialize. It might be television watching, an adult coloring, or some of that, just downtime. And then we get started back with afternoon exercise, another activity. And then as the day goes on, individuals start to go home. Access transportation is a service that provides it, and also caregivers pick up. But we have activities all the way down to the end of the day. It might be rummy, chess. We were ping pong and different activities such as that, all the way until 5:30 until they're picked up.
Okay. Yeah. So a couple things that I've learned and know is that doing something that triggers your mind to do some work, and this some type of physical motion daily.
Right.
I think we overthink that one.
Right.
It has to be some dramatic thing. It just some type of motion. I mean, frankly, I think there's enough studies out there that say just some type of walking that's actually probably better than just about anything.
Right.
So it's good to hear what's going on. How many on a typical day? How many participants are involved?
At the center, our max is 24 for the day. It's a 1 staff to 8 participant ratio there. So we have to make sure that we know who's coming. But they have contracted days that they attend the program. So if somebody doesn't want to come Monday through Friday, then they might come Monday and Wednesday. But it's not a drop-in center, though. Well, I have to know who's coming and what days they're coming. At Daylite, we're actually... our max there is only 7 right now. It is a program, again, kind of like a caregiver's day out. And we're actually temporarily placed at Park Street United Methodist Church in Belmont because our Gastonia location is undergoing renovation. So we had to move the individuals from Gastonia to our Mount Holly location. Thought it would be much easier to go to a church and say, hey, can I have your building 2 days for a few hours instead of Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30. So once the building's renovated, we'll make our move back to Gaston County, and then Daylite will move back to our Mount Holly location.
So during your time with the center, is there something that stands out? I like to ask the question about it. Have you seen an individual, a family, or something that that you've seen impacted? Or I'm assuming you're seeing some of the same people, daily and over. But does something stand out? Like, wow, that's why it's worth having this, this program here in Gaston County. Something stand out for you?
I mean, I literally had a caregiver say that the program saved her life.
Oh, wow.
Caregivers can often die or become sick caregiving before the person they're providing care for. So it's very overwhelming. And the individuals that come there, they get the breaks that they need to actually make it. The other thing is the impact of socialization that I see between the participants that attend there. When COVID happened, we recognized the effects of social isolation as a world, but a lot of times seniors have been experiencing that for years, well before COVID came on the scene, and people didn't even realize how much isolation impacts a person's mental well-being. So a lot of times when people get older, they'll say, I'm the only one left. All my friends have died. You're coming to a program and it's like, Eureka, this is what I needed. So I've seen individuals come out, and I remember when I first started working there, I said they have their downtime. So there were two ladies, one was 99 and one was 91. And they would sit outside my door and I'd hear them talking while I was working in the office. And one time I tried to exercise routine and I heard them complaining about my routine. And then the next day, so one came Monday through Friday and the other came Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. But so that Tuesday, after the one was out, the other one said, it sure is lonely when you're not here. And wouldn't it be wonderful to be 99 years old and missed by somebody?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so that was the most impactful thing that I've heard, is you just don't realize that we all need connection. We all need other people. And sometimes people don't even realize what they're missing until they get back into the program. Initially, people feel like they're doing something to a loved one when they put them in a program like that.
Sure.
And you're actually doing something for them. So once they get in the program,
there's a level of guilt there with anything like that. Yeah.
Like you put mom away or you put dad, but you're actually doing something for them. Because now they have that connection that's beyond you. They have friends that they actually connect with, people that they exchange numbers. They call each other outside of the place. I had two females that came in. We called them Thelma and Louise because they were rebels. Their children were trying to take their cars away from them, things of that nature. Well, they found out when they came to the program.
Right, the car thing is tough.
Yes. They're trying to take my car away from me. And so they actually became friends and found out that they live close to each other. And so then they started hanging out. If one of them was out sick, they'd call for the other. And I'd say, you can't call in for your friend. They have to call in for themselves, or their caregiver does. But it was nice that they actually became friends there. And some of them don't have an opportunity to get out anywhere except for our program. So when they don't have the opportunity to meet new friends and new people until they come to our program. So that's just a plus that comes with the program also. Yeah.
So I know something I've learned from just being 54 years old now and so much reading, and especially going through COVID. Yeah. We are not designed to be solo.
That's right.
We're just not. So that connection is so important. So anyway, we could talk about that probably for a long time. Yeah. So you might have just answered this question. I'm going to ask anyway, but is there something that stands out in a broader sense? Maybe what are you most proud of accomplishing with the program, since you've been involved, or something you've seen with the program, or maybe something that's changed, or I don't know.
Just the enhancement, the impact that I think it has on the individuals, that they laugh from their bellies. and we also, we have a senior prom. We'll have the fourth one this coming year. Okay. But we had one this past year, and it's all out. Volunteers come out. We have a DJ. Best Little Hair House in Charlotte came and volunteered to do hair and makeup. people in the community donated their time, food, and everything. We had it at Park Street United Methodist Church. And the first one that we had, the king and queen were chosen based on who had been in the program the longest.
Okay.
And I had a lady that she was crowned. And she said, this was the best day of my life. And I said, of your life? She said, yeah. She said, I never went to my prom. She said, I got married at the Justice of Peace. And she said, I've never had a day in my life where I wore makeup and hair and things of that nature.
Wow.
And I said, I thought I was doing things to help people remember things, but we're creating new experiences for people, opening up a world that they've never even seen. And so my focus and our focus in the program is to give them those experiences that they once had and those that they've never had. And so we try to make programming as engaging as possible. Again, I hear them laugh from their belly, and a lot of them, you don't think that you're going to have that in your latter years, especially if you have dementia and especially if you have medical issues. It sounds depressing. But actually, if you come in our program, you would say this is...
Yeah, it's hard to have those belly laughs without connection either, right?
Right.
Very, very rarely are you doing that solo.
Right, yeah. And so some of the things that we've done is we've tried to expand marketing and programming. That's when you were talking about. We do have a Facebook page now. It's the Center Adult Day Services. So you can follow us and see the activities and events that we're doing. So that's something that's been really impactful that we've started. And also trying to get out to market into the community more. We tried to make sure that everybody in Gaston County is aware of our services and programs. And we don't have individuals who are bilingual, but we've conducted outreach to the Latinx community also. I have an intern that we've gotten from UNC Charlotte. She's bilingual, and she comes in. So we've done a lot of the outreach to that community also, because we want to make sure that everybody in Gaston County is aware of our services and resources. So just doing more things like this. When I started in this program, they said it was the best little secret in Gaston County, and we don't want it to be a secret.
Yeah,
we want
absolutely.
the secret to get out.
So where is the center located?
Right now, the building that's undergoing renovations is actually, and a lot of people know where the old orthopedic hospital is if you're in Gaston County. So it's 900 Roberts Drive. It's right on that campus off of New Hope Road.
Okay.
So behind Partners Behavioral Health Management, where the Veterans Office is. So it's right on that campus. That building is undergoing renovations. And I can use all these old points that people who have been here for years. In Mount Holly, if you're familiar with Mount Holly Farm Supply, we're at 1122 South Main Street. Right next door to there. It used to be the health department. And a lot of people see the EMS, the ambulance parked out there. They are in the back of our building so that they can respond to emergencies in East Gaston more quickly. So they camp out there sometimes.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate all that. So the question we'd like to ask is kind of looking ahead. We used to ask that classic question 5 to 10 years, but, we often on these episodes talk about, gosh, who looks that far ahead? Things change so fast nowadays. Even in our business, we don't do that anymore. It's more like 1 to 3 years at best. So looking ahead, any plans of the future? Is it just trying to serve more people or enhance the program? Just what do you see looking ahead?
Well, we are always looking to enhance the program. We do have activities specialists there that actually facilitate the activities. And so we're not just every day it has to stimulate cognitively, physically, and socially. But we do want to expand. The first baby boomer turned 65 in 2011. So we know that there is what we call a silver tsunami on the rise. So and there are not enough long-term care facilities to house these individuals. We know that people still have to work. So we look at expanding services. One thing, once we get back into our main building, we want to expand the numbers at the Daylite program and could potentially expand the days with that
Okay.
program. That is a group respite program, and the other is adult daycare program. So there are two different programs. And then we could also, move back to our Gaston County area. The other thing would be the group respite program is easy to duplicate in churches and in the community.
Okay.
So if there are churches that are interested in having Daylite or group respite services, then that could be something that is done at a church. The requirements, we would assist in helping someone get that together in other counties. I mean, not in other counties, but in other locations.
Okay.
It'd be nice to have one in the Cherryville area and things of that nature. So, we'd be in hopes to looking at helping others in the community. Right now, we are the only adult daycare program in the area. There is the PACE program, which is senior TLC, and they're a medical model, but we're actually the only social model
Understood.
for seniors in this area.
I don't know what episode it was. We had senior TLC on.
Right.
Gosh, I bet it's been a couple seasons ago now. But yeah, it was an interesting discussion.
Right.
But I can see the differences in
Right.
what you're describing there. So, before we finish up, we'll make sure we swing back and let you share any opportunities, volunteer opportunities, for our listeners to find out more information. But has there anything I haven't asked that I should have asked? Before we move on?
Again, I think there is grant funding available. So that's one thing that people do not know. A lot of times people think when you get Medicare, they say, oh, well, if mom gets sick, I'll just place her in a facility. Well, I think you probably experienced it's not that simple.
It is not. You're correct.
If you're in the middle of the road, then you might not be eligible for those
That's
services, and Medicare does not cover it. The daily rate of the Daylite program is $35 a day, and that's from 9 to 3. And then our center program is 7:30 to 5:30. That's $50 per day. But there's also grant funding available. Again, when you call our intake department through Adult and Aging Services, you can find out about state adult daycare funds and home and community care block grant funding that will cover that cost. So those are things that you can get. Medicaid does not cover our program either. So a lot of times people think I'll just get Medicare, and then they think I'll get Medicaid. Well, Medicaid, you may not be eligible for that, and Medicare does not cover it. So.
Yeah, and oftentimes my experience, and just obviously you gotta figure all that out. But you don't, when something happens or you're in that situation, it's kind of almost the last thing you want to worry about, right? But you have to, and so it's interesting that I appreciate you sharing that. So again, like I said, we'll make sure all the listeners know how to find out more information. But something that we're going to shift gears briefly. We make our guests endure these Gaston County related questions, and so this is really what the team at the center, family, anybody, friend. This is what they really want to know.
Oh, okay. These are the most important ones.
And we're going to call this Gaston County Speed Round of Questions.
Okay.
Because this is Gaston County organization program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd normally make up some name, but I decided not to because of the organization. So, and you've been here, I think I heard 29 years?
Yes.
So you've been here long enough to be able to answer these questions. So I'm assuming you're familiar been to Tony's Ice Cream before?
Yes, I have.
All right. So what's your favorite Tony's Ice Cream flavor?
Well, what I'd say is I don't have a favorite, but I have heard that the grape is really good. So I have plans to go by and try that.
So your answer is something you actually haven't had before.
Haven't had. I don't know.
However, I will admit that grape is a surprisingly popular answer to that question.
Okay.
I think grape, butter pecan, and
I've had
chocolate,
the butter pecan, and it's really good.
But grape is a surprisingly popular answer. I've tasted the grape. I've never actually had it on my own. So are you a Sundrop or Cheerwine person?
Sundrop.
All right. How about favorite local restaurant?
EJ Soul Food and Vegan Restaurant.
Okay, yeah, that's been an answer a couple of times. How about favorite outdoor activity or park or something here in Gaston County?
I love bike riding. So I love the Greenway, and I love, of course, Martha Rivers for walking. So I love that.
Yeah, I'm over there a couple of times a week with my F3 group normally.
Yes. It's a safe place to ride bikes. So I had an 8-year-old out there and a 9-year-old that barely knew how to ride the bike. So I figured, where's the safest place to take them?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's it.
So this is a super important question, and one that there's only one correct answer, but I'll ask it anyway. And we could accept, there are some other acceptable answers. So, you know, but UNC, Duke, NC State, or Radford, maybe?
Well, of course, I'm going to choose Radford. It's in Virginia. But if I had to choose in North Carolina, I'd choose App State. That's where my husband went to college.
Okay. Well, that is questionable, but acceptable.
Okay.
I have one of my daughters graduated from App State.
Okay.
So we spent a good amount of time up there. So that is a marginally acceptable answer.
Okay.
All right. So, Karen, what is something very few people know about you?
Well, I'm an open book, but it's one thing people, I know. But the one thing that people don't know about me is that I have plans on writing a book that focuses on my faith and my experiences of myself and other people. Now that I've said it, I feel like I have to do it.
Yes. You have put it out there now.
Put it out there. Yeah.
So that voice is going to be putting that burden on you now to go do that.
That's why I said it.
Have you started it?
I have.
Okay.
I have. Yeah.
I'm a journaler.
Mm-hmm.
So I journal most days, but I think what I've heard and learned is that you just got to get that discipline of writing something every single day.
Right.
A little something. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just a little something every single day. So you'll have to come back when
my book is ready.
When your book is finished, and we can talk about that.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
And speaking of that, the question I like to ask is a recent book or a blog or article or another podcast or something you might recommend to our listeners.
I mean, again, my faith is very important to me. So I read the Daily Bread every morning to make sure that I start my day off with prayer and with the Daily Bread. So it's got the topic in there, and it helps you to get your day started right.
Kind of center yourself for the day.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, very good. I have 2 daily devotionals that I read myself, so I appreciate that. So, just a few more questions, and we'll get this episode finished up here. Okay. So, besides the center, again, let me back up. Remember, this is a podcast about Gaston County in our area. We have had guests on that were not necessarily based in Gaston County, but serve Gaston County. But no one, that's what we're kind of focused on. Besides the Center for Daycare Services for Adults in Daylite, why would you say Gaston County is such a great place?
I've been here the last 29 years, and I've seen the growth in the area. I've seen the development, and you still get that slower pace with it. So that's what I really like about it. If I'm looking for something to do, I can look at the Gaston County website and actually find things that are. And I can even put on Facebook things to do in Gastonia or Gaston County. And you're usually going to get something pop up in the area. So I appreciate the growth, yet it's at the slower pace. You don't have to worry about the hustle and bustle of it.
Yeah, I agree. I've been lucky enough to travel. I spent a few years away at NC State University in Raleigh. If I've never mentioned that
would have been my second one.
Yeah, sure was. Now we hear about it. Oh, I appreciate that.
It's right there on the paper.
Well, our family, my son graduated from Western Carolina, my daughter from Appalachian State, and our youngest is at NC State at the moment. So we got the entire state covered there. But Gaston County, just a unique place, and I feel very fortunate to be here. So. Last question. Knowing what you know now, Karen, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Relax and breathe. Breathe. People don't realize that breathing really helps more than you anticipate. That's I've got an app. So in addition to the Daily Bread and reading, then I do the breathing app on there every morning, and people underestimate the importance of breathing.
Yeah, my wife read a great book. I think it's called Breathe or Breath. But it is about the intentionality of that, because that's something we just take for granted, right? And we don't really pay attention to it. So I agree with that. Almost most people might think meditation, but all that's connected,
right?
To just pause and really pay attention to your breathing and how you do this thing. It's funny how and you say relax. I think you're the first person that maybe has used that word, but a common answer to that is, gosh, when we were 20, the things we thought were important or bad
right.
just weren't, right? We elevated these things that just weren't, these disasters at 20, just looking back like, gosh, what was I, why was I so freaked out about that when it was really nothing?
Right. There are ups and downs in life. If you're at the bottom, wait long enough and you'll be at the top again.
Yeah, that journey isn't that straight line, right? That we hope. It's just up and down, and you have to jump over things and climb under things and climb over things. It's but you know what I think, I used to think that I wanted that straight line, but now as I've gotten older, I know that wouldn't learn enough, or I wouldn't have perspective, right? The perspective that I have now, now that I'm older.
Oh yeah.
Than Naomi.
You learn a lot more from the lows. I say you're winning or learning. If you're not winning, then there's something to learn out of it. But there were 2 times I thought about breathing, and I used to work in behavioral health, and I did crisis intervention team training, which teaches officers to divert to treatment instead of incarceration. It's an evidence-based practice, and I had a therapist up there that was talking about people that smoke cigarettes, and they said, they're breathing, and they think it's the cigarette that's de-stressing. It's really the breathing. And then they get addicted to nicotine. And then, so it goes, but it's the breathing. And then the second time is actually, I was facilitating a caregiver support group. And it was one of the strategies that they said caregivers should use. And when I would ask what were some of the best strategies, a lot of the caregivers said breathing. And I said, well, I keep teaching this. I should probably try it. And it actually works.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I appreciate it. That's good to hear. I'm a big podcast leader, a couple of health podcasts I listen to when I can. And that is a topic that, several times a year comes up when you're listening to those type of things. And I would bet 20 years ago, you never heard about it, right? You never heard about that stuff. Well, Karen, this has been really good. So, just as a reminder, we want to make sure our listeners know how to find out more information, where to go online, where to, again, volunteer opportunities, or anything and everything. Just, if you don't mind, just share anything and everything you can about all that.
Okay. Well, again, we're a part of Gaston County government. So you can go to www.gastongov.com. And if you go under social services, adult and aging, the center actually has a site there, and the volunteer application is actually online there. Or you can call our intake department at 704-862-7540, and you'll learn about not only our program, but all adult and aging services through that intake line. Again, we do have volunteer opportunities. If you want to come in and sing, entertain, facilitate bingo, even assist, then we're welcome to that. We'll take volunteers to even do building renovations. We've had church groups come in, schools will come in and have a day of caring where they actually do cleaning and things of that nature also. So there's always those opportunities there for that.
Well, listen, I appreciate that. Before we close this episode out, any last words or anything you'd like to share before we finish up?
Just want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to come on. Hopefully spread the word out because either you're going to be a caregiver, you have been one, or you're going to need one. So spread the word about our services, because a lot of times people are overwhelmed and they don't know that we're a resource that can help. So just please spread the word to others about our program, even if you don't need it.
Yeah, until our family dealt with it, I really had no idea what was needed in the services out there. We're involved, my wife and I are both involved with the Alzheimer's Association, but because we're a little further along in our journey at the moment than your participants. Okay. Right. So yeah, having an option in between, man, I really think that's just it's good to hear. Cause I heard of the program, but frankly, I didn't know as much about it as I should, especially being here and being involved in so many things like I am. So again, I appreciate that. So hopefully we'll have some listeners out there who might have a family member, and it's almost, my experience too is it's not the same as cancer, but you get to a certain age, it seems like somebody who's dealt with cancer, and know somebody who has dealt with Alzheimer's or dementia, right? And so that's just a part of that journey as well. And it's just nice to know there are some resources out there and available. So as I normally do, I'm going to finish up with my own book recommendation and quote or thought for the week. And I didn't think about this when I chose this title, so it's going to, hope it doesn't come across wrong, but I got one of my mentors, Mark Madison. He's written a bunch of books. I've shared more than one of his books, but his latest is called When I'm Old. And it's not about, it's just about the things that you can continue to do.
Right.
And how you can continue to learn, how you continue to do things as you get older, because I think he's in his late 60s now. But somebody I admire, and actually, again, I would just recommend checking it out. You can find it on Amazon, but he's somebody who's inspirational to me. And my quote of the week, again, it ties into so many organizations and people like Karen who are serving our community in positive ways. But Winston Churchill said, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give." So, we're recording this here on December 10th, I guess. And here in the holiday season, so I think people typically do have charity and giving maybe a little more on their mind this time of year. It would be great if it was a little more than just around this time of year. It feels like we treat each other a little better this time of year. It'd be nice if that could carry on a little more throughout the year. But I do. It's not the kind of thing you typically think of Winston Churchill. It's normally other things, but he was a very diverse guy on his thoughts and the things that he taught. So. And I'm a big fan of his as well. So, as always, I want to thank our listeners for taking the time to listening to today's episode. And please continue to spread the word if you can. Listen, please continue to share the podcast and on your social media platforms, and tell your friends and neighbors. And we want to continue to get the word out about these great programs and organizations we have doing good work here in Gaston County. So, if you have an idea for a new episode, please email us at our email address, which is podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We're always looking for suggestions for new podcast episodes. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen or find a podcast. And please follow us on all our social media platforms. That's something that Naomi does a great job with. And thanks again to Karen for being our guest today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Naomi Hunt and Amy Anderson from GSM Services. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.